Want to learn how to turn bottle stoppers? This is a fun, quick project at the wood lathe, and bottle stoppers make great gifts for friends and family. So let's dive right into it. Welcome back to Turning Stitches. Today we're in the wood shop and we're going to be turning some bottle stoppers. Bottle stoppers are a fun little project that allow us to use up some of the little scraps we accumulate around the shop. They're also a great gift for the wine lovers in your life. We're going to be adding bottle stoppers to our Etsy shop basically as a lost leader type item. Just a nice easy entry point. Someone can admire our work and maybe they'll pick up one of these bottle stoppers for a friend or family member that loves wine. If you do craft shows, these can be a great item to add to your booth also. So they're a lot of fun to turn, quick and easy, so let's get started. I purchased bottle stopper kits from Penn Industries. You can also find these on Amazon. I'll leave links to both in the description below, so if you're interested, you can easily find them. There are a couple other things that are handy to have on hand before you get started as well, and that's a tap, so that when we tap our wood blank, it's going to mount. It's basically just going to thread onto the stud that's on the bottle stopper kit. In this case, the ones I'm using are a 3/8 inch 16 TPI. So they match a pretty standard 3/8 inch bolt, which makes that pretty handy and convenient. It's also good to have on hand the right size drill bit so that you can pre-drill the holes that'll take the threads that you need to cut. So in this case, we're going to be cutting 3/8 inch threads, 16 TPI. So having all of this hardware on hand is helpful as well. The other thing that you're going to want to have on hand is some type of a mandrel. Now I made this one here in the shop. It was just a block that I made round, put a tenon on it, drilled and tapped a hole that matches up with my 3/8 16 TPI. One of the advantages of a shop-made mandrel like this is I can make more. I've got multiples of them actually, and if I need to resize them, I certainly can do that as well. But you can find these also on Amazon and Penn Industries. You can find them. The trick is you just want to make sure that the thread pitch on the stud or the bolt on the mandrel matches your bottle stopper kits. So we've made it over to the lathe and we're ready to work. Our first three operations are really going to be drilling operations. This first step, I've got a 1-inch Forstner bit here, and all I want to do is kind of flush off the end of my blank. So my blank, this end is not perfectly smooth, and I want it to mate up to our mandrel later as tightly as I can. So I'm just going to take a 1-inch Forstner bit and just kind of create a nice flat spot right here in the center. So that's really our first step. I've got the blank chucked up here in the 4-jaw chuck, and I've got the lathe speed turned way down low. We're only about 200 RPMs, and that'll be a factor here in a moment. So we're not going to be turning very quickly. Let's just kick this on. I just want to advance the Forstner bit, not very far, just enough to flush off the end. Most of this is going to get turned away. Okay. That's all for that step. Next, we've got our 5/16 inch drill bit. This is going to give us the kind of narrow part of our threads. So this is the corresponding drill bit to the tap that we're going to use here next. So I want to drill this hole 1.25 inches deep. So I'm just going to put some blue tape here at about that spot, and that's going to mark our depth for these holes. With that mark, we'll kick on the lathe and we'll drill our hole. So now we've got the tap inserted in the drill chuck, and what we're going to do, and this is the big reason for the slow speed. So basically what we want to do is I'm going to turn on the lathe, and I'm going to push by hand very, very gently up and get the tap into the hole I'm not going to lock down the tailstock, so the tailstock doesn't get locked down. And what that's going to do is, while this is turning, it's going to pull this in. Once we get pretty close to this black mark we've got right here, we're going to shut it off, let the lathe come to a stop, and then we'll reverse the motor, and that'll push the tap right back out. So I'm just advancing very, very slowly until it starts picking it up, and as soon as it does, I want to shut it off, give it a few turns. I'm going to reverse it. Now I'm going to turn it back on, and it'll push it back out. Okay, and our hole is tapped here. And so this blank is ready to be turned. With our drilling operations done, now we're ready to start turning. So we're just going to put the shop-made mandrel in the chuck, get that tightened up here, make sure I've got it aligned. Look around. That's nice and tight. And we're just going to take our blank that's got our hole that's tapped, and we're just going to screw it onto the post in the mandrel. So just going to snug that up. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the tailstock for support. This is probably not going to run true as we get started. So I'm going to use the tailstock just to help. That way we don't strip out those threads. So this bottle stopper that we're working on is going to basically have a round ball, kind of a knob on the end. I know I want this 1.5 inches here, and I've got that line marked out here, but I also want to kind of give myself a center line to kind of work the shape, to work that round shape with. So I'm going to come down here, just measure out. I need some space down at the bottom. So my round ball is going to be a little over 1 inch. So I've just kind of marked a center point here. And with that center point, that'll just kind of give me a reference line to start my the curve. Okay, so I've got pencil lines there. We're going to come back in just a second with and put a V. Use a V notch there. You can see how out of round that is. That's one reason for the tailstock. So I've just got my V notch on my center line and the end. So I'm just going to start by clearing off, by getting the blank running a little more true. And just start working down what is effectively just this waste material down here at the end. Just using that 3/8 inch bowl gouge here. It's pretty close. I'm going to mark my lines again, my V notches. I lost that one. Really just want to work away the waste. come in here. It's about where I want it to end. Alright, so now we've got the spindle gouge. And we're just going to take and work this off, kind of get our round, start establishing our round end down here on the end. I need to move the tool rest just a little bit. So we're going to start by getting a little close, or getting closer to the mandrel. Now we're going to finish our shape over here. That's pretty close. You can see I've got still a little bit of our V-notch right here. And I've got a hard line right there. I don't want the hard line, but I don't want to take off a lot of material, but I just want to feather that out. Let's come back and work the other way. You can see I've got a spot right there that's not totally smooth. Still have it. I'm going to come back a little bit. And that's got it for the most part. Just 150 grit right here. Get everything kind of smoothed out. And then we'll park this end away, kind of finish up the end. Alright, so we've gotten rid of the nub. And we're done. This one's ready for finish.
You can see we made a whole batch of these bottle stoppers while we were working on this video. And of course, one afternoon we got crazy with the paint pens, and you can kind of see all the bright colors that came out of that. Here I'm just spraying this with a little top coat just to add a little gloss and a little extra protection. And then Then we're down to final assembly. Put a little CA glue inside the threads on the turned part, on the wooden part, and then it's just a matter of threading the wood bottle stopper that we turned onto the chrome bodies.